Nitrogen is one of the problems that Cape Cod faces right now, that excess leaching of nitrogen from our septic systems. If we don't manage the nutrient problem, we can't reverse these bad impacts that are happening in our estuary of reduced shellfish and fishing species, of lower dissolved oxygen, of smelly, nasty algal blooms. Phytoplankton is a form of algae. It's a microalgae, but we also get macroalgae, which some people know as seaweed. So the seaweed ends up also taking up a lot of that excess nutrients and forming really gross mats of algae on the bottom of the bay. And so that can create a pretty anoxic or low oxygen system, especially right at the sediment at the bottom of the bay. Locally, we try to use our data for management and trying to understand our nitrogen problem on Cape Cod and how it's affecting the habitat for fish and other wildlife. Our local community is very much interested in how do we conserve or protect those shellfish and fishing industries. The nutrient data is really useful for is trying to help inform decision makers on what the best course of action is. So water quality monitoring for our reserve entails abiotic monitoring. So abiotic means non-living parameters. And we collect parameters such as temperature, dissolved oxygen, turbidity, which is a measure of water clarity, pH, which is a measure of the acidity of the water, as well as depth and salinity. We also collect monthly nutrient samples, and so our nutrient suite involves both nitrogen, phosphorus, and also silicate parameters, and that helps us understand how these limiting factors are being used by the biology in the water column. The primary piece of equipment that we're using is called a YSI XO2, and it's a multi-parameter sonde or data logger. It's the instrument that's collecting all of those physical properties every 15 minutes. We have 8 of them that we rotate across 4 sites. They're great pieces of equipment. They do a really good job collecting the data that they collect over pretty long periods of time. Without a doubt, looking at my data, our water temperatures are increasing, and that is likely a result of our climate impacts of our air temperature also increasing. Our growing seasons are getting longer, so that warm temperature in the water is prolonged even greater than it would have been in the past. We gotta address nitrogen, and we need to realize that climate change is gonna exacerbate the problem, and that we need to face it all and start addressing these challenges.